Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever and whenever you are. I am Rune from Rune'sGuild, and I am going to be doing a different style of video today. Like I said in the last one, I want to try doing maybe 1 or 2 stories a video as opposed to a bunch of different smaller ones. So this is the first attempt at that with a little bit longer of a story. So before I talk even longer for an introduction, let me go ahead and roll the post. Last year, I ended my long-running campaign, where I decided to rush to the end of it due to it being a burnt out for certain players. If it's not clear, I was the DM of this campaign. The players that sort of ruined things for me will be referred to as Red and Yellow. Red being the primary offender, and Yellow being a minor grievance. There were other players in the campaign as well who were fine, but for context, I will refer to them as purple, green, blue, and orange. For some context on the campaign, I knew most of the players prior to the campaign. In fact, I had run a shorter in-person campaign for most of them while I was in college. I didn't really notice any issues at the time, but to be honest, I am somewhat autistic, so I never really thought about it. Now that I look back, I realized that Red was a bit of a toxic player to people who didn't play how he thought they should. Before the big sickness hit, after my shorter campaign ended, I invited most of my players to a longer campaign that was online only. For me, it was easier to deal with people online, and I like working on Roll20 for maps and other character or creature art. Orange asked if he could invite one of his friends to the campaign before it began, and I accepted. I figured if Orange vouched for him, he was probably a decent guy. Everything for the first few months of the campaign was going fine, or I guess anything that annoyed me was tolerable. For example, a lot of the players liked to draw on my maps, which they knew annoyed me. Their main joke was to write "oh whoa" somewhere I wouldn't notice, which would break immersion when I would find it. My players actually do this too. We play on Tabletop Simulator though, because they just prefer it. And if I'm like doing something where I'm not looking at the entire table, somewhere there's going to be either something naughty drawn, or an oh whoa, or an ooh woo, or some message written about somebody being a dum dum poopy head. It doesn't bother me. I think it's funny when I find it. I'm like, what the heck? Of course, I understand some people probably get annoyed by that, but for me, it's not really a huge issue. Anyways, back to the story. Leading up to the first major incident, there would be times in the campaign where not all players were there for the combat, usually because the party split up and started a fight somewhere. So, Red expressed to me that he was getting really bored during these times, so I decided I would make some NPCs during future similar situations for them to puppet. By the way, I should also mention that whenever Red gets bored because he isn't the focus of the scene, he would start talking out of character to other players, or he would play games in the Roll20 chat like rock paper scissors. I tried to ignore it to begin with, but it felt disrespectful to me that he couldn't keep quiet when I was interacting with other players. It got so bad that I made a separate voice channel to shove him and another offending player into when they did it. And I had to use it. Often. I passive-aggressively brought it up at one point in the campaign, saying that I bet he loves it when his players, he is also a DM and loves to talk about his campaigns in the session as well, do that to him. And he told me that his players don't do it because they respect him, and that hurt since it showed that he knew he was being a dick and did it anyway. Sort of going on this, I had a player one time, my brother, who played with me and my friends in our campaign, and like frequently he would be slow to respond if I said something, and I'd ask him what he's doing, and he's playing League of Legends while playing D&D. He's just playing it in the background, or playing D&D I guess in the background. I'm not sure why he would do that. Probably because he just couldn't pay attention, or maybe I don't know, maybe he didn't respect me like Red doesn't respect OP. Anyways, I'm gonna stop interjecting right now and go back into the story. Right on to the first major incident, or at least the one I remember. My players split up to complete 2 different tasks, which was sort of a downtime kind of period. So half the players left to join a fishing boat, which turned out to be a pirate ship, and the other half were investigating some cultists. The cult group found out that there was a planned attack on a goblin district within the city, and they wanted to help the goblins. The idea was that they would fight through the burning district, rescuing various NPCs, and each one they would rescue would then be piloted by a player whose character is in the scene. I figured it should have gone without saying, since it should have been obvious that these NPCs were just meant to be NPCs, as in they were not meant to have an impact on the story in a way that would take away from the main characters. This is an important point that will be relevant later. The party fought their way to the leader of the cultists, having rescued most of the NPCs who were all being piloted. This cult had very important ties to the backstory of one of the players present, Purple, as he used to be a part of the cult, so this was a mission specifically for him. They managed to beat the cult leader and his goons in battle, but several of the NPCs either went down or died during the fight. At the end of the fight, Red NPC was down and on death saves. I don't know why I allowed them to have death saves as NPCs, but they assumed they had them, so I left them to roll with it. That's fair. Purple was going to tie up the cult leader and hand him over to the guards. As a DM, I thought that this was excellent. He would hand over an important criminal and develop a good relationship with the law enforcement of the city for doing so. But then the dice gods decided to roll on the side of chaos and gave the downed Red NPC a natural 20 on his death saving throw. Red NPC got up and killed the cult leader. In retaliation, Purple killed Red NPC and an argument ensued. Most of the players were on the side of Red NPC since he described it as PvP and said that since Purple was a paladin, he was doing something that was against his alignment or something. Honestly, I should have said something since I agreed with Purple, but I didn't want conflict and didn't want to deal with the drama that may follow. In the end, the event was made into an in-game meme and we all moved on anyway. That's what I thought at least. After reminiscing with Purple about it, he told me that Red had sent him a very lengthy DM on Discord regarding the incident. I didn't get a good read though, since it contained a lot of private information that was not shared with me and I had to skim past that. But it could be summed up to Red saying that he had issues with player agency in PvP and past campaigns, and Purple killed Red NPC was triggering. Which is ironic since Red took away Purple's agency in the campaign by killing the cult leader. A little bit later into the campaign, Red would get mad at me that the guards were often somewhat hostile to the party, to which I explained that the party were essentially vigilantes who killed people in the city, and that they never really tried to prove otherwise to the guards. Red responded, saying they never got the opportunity. Edit. To why I didn't kick the guy, no one really complained about him. I figured that if the players were all enjoying themselves, everything was fine. He was also the main talker of the group, but it took me a while to realize that it was probably because many of the other players didn't feel like role-playing with him around. His character's personality can be summed up as being a complete asshole to everyone, including his friends, and whenever he would berate another player in character, he would follow up out of character with a "I love you really." That's the end. OP says there might be further parts down the road, but I think that story, I mean, what to say about it? I mean, sometimes you kind of just gotta say no to your players, and if Red is being as aggressive as OP kind of makes him out to be regarding, like, not being in the scene sometimes, I mean, obviously sort of main character-ish going on here, and if Red can't just sort of accept that maybe, you know, oh, you're not gonna be in the scene, especially if the party is willingly splitting up, if the party is like, yeah, we're gonna split up, and then get angry if they're not in the combat or in the scene, like, just don't let your party split up, I guess, is my advice to the OP. Just don't let them split up. And if they try, just tell them no, or just give them some reason that they can't split up. Like, oh, we want to go investigate this. Oh, you try to, but I don't know, a giant rock fell and blocked that path, so you can't. I mean, like, as DMs, we kind of get the privilege of being, you know, gods of time and space. We can do whatever the hell we want in the campaign. And obviously, you know, maybe the party likes playing like that. Maybe they like splitting up constantly. But, like, if they like splitting up constantly, you need to stress to them, instead of giving them NPCs to do whatever they want with, you need to stress, you know, hey, you're not going to be in the scene if you split up. I don't know. That's just my opinion, I guess. If anybody has anything else they might want to say to that, just, you know, let me know. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be. I don't know. But for me, that's probably gonna do it for this one. I know it's a shorter video, but like I said, I'm trying to do like 1 or 2 stories in some of these videos, as opposed to, you know, like 5 or 6, just because I want to be able to share one story and actually take my time to read it instead of read through it quickly and give my actual opinion on it afterwards. So if you enjoyed, give me a like, a comment, a subscription. You don't have to if you don't want to. If you have your own horror stories, leave them in the comments below. If you don't have your own horror story, good job. If you can't think of anything to comment at all, go ahead and just write, why do they split the party? And if you like this format, make sure you let me know. If you don't like this format, let me know as well, because I can also just go back to the other one and just read a bunch at once. And that is going to do it for me for this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.